All right, fam, we're back on the run stand project today. We've got it just about done. I think we're going to try and do a test fire here, and we'll walk you through it. We kind of got the harness just kind of put on there for right now, and we'll probably make changes to it in the future. We got a cheap LS harness on here. I've got a 411 computer with VATs and turned over to manual transmission. And we just hand tightened the fuse block and the diagnostic connector on there. But everything's plugged in. Got some exhaust on it for right now. Just gonna test and see if it's gonna fire. It does have oxygen sensors. And got some straps just to stabilize it. But I think we're about ready to try and fire it up and see what happens. All right. So we got our main power on. I guess I can crank it, make sure we didn't have any stuck injectors and fill everything up with fuel, huh?
Sure.
All right, that seems to be a thing. Turn the ignition on. Fuel on.
We got fuel leak.
Timbers?
I don't know if it's kind of there. There, I think that's probably loose.
It might not be tight.
Yep, that's loose.
Yeah, all right, I think we're good. We had a cam position sensor plugged into the crank position sensor because our harness is not labeled. So we're gonna turn this on. Well, I gotta put a battery cable on. And then we're gonna turn it on and see if we can't check the sensor, make sure it's reading. So we'll be back. Do we wanna try it with fuel and just go for bad?
Sure.
Doesn't seem like it's not tried to do anything yet either.
Nope. Turn it over. Still no spark.
Yeah, I'm still not seeing anything come up on RPMs. It should show me on the gauge RPMs, I would think. So guys, I think we're on take 3. I don't know if we have the footage from the other 2 takes, like from the area camera, but we have spark now. We swapped the old crappy harness off of the C10 project. That is really a Frankenstein harness that is in rough shape. And we've got it finger tighted together, literally, to try and fire this thing up. So we're going to try and start it and see what happens. Well, it died, but it ran for a minute. It ran at the very least as good as it did in the C10.
Yeah.
But it fired.
See if we can start back up.
Yeah. You have to run the throttle. Maybe not. I don't know what our fuel pressure is. I don't think our fuel pressure is doing very good.
Let's check oil pressure. Make sure we got oil pressure when we're doing this. Shut the ignition off and crank it.
No, it's up at 10, 20 probably. Cranking.
I was watching the manual gauge. I guess the electric gauge is still hooked up.
Yeah. It's coming up.
The tires are stopped.
Oil pressure. 30. That's about how it ran in the C10 too. Yep. I don't think we had a map in it before. I'd be surprised if it's magically working now. But that's about how the C10 ran. I mean, it was all over the place. But the harness was crap too. But it was good enough to at least, like, I could drive the C10 like in and out of the shop with that harness on it, and that was about as good as it got.
Just that choppy?
Yeah, it was acting like it was running out of fuel. It was idle. I mean, we had like intake leaks. We had injector problems. There was just so much problems with that C10. And then this harness, it wasn't reading a map sensor for sure when I pulled it out. So we know it was a harness.
Yes, got that figured out. Now we just need to get a good harness to go in, and hopefully we know it runs.
Yep. I might look up and see if they have like run stand harnesses.
Yeah, like you were saying, have one custom made for this where it comes up here.
Yeah. It's the thing.
Or just completely dismantle this one and make it work.
Yeah, between this and then that one.
I'm betting this probably has a wire. If it's the map sensor that wasn't reading.
Yeah, map sensor is 0. I've switched the map sensor. I've done all that stuff when it was in the C10. And
yeah, I'm betting it's a part somewhere in here. The way we seen that injector tied together.
Yeah. It is poor quality.
Yeah, I was not impressed. But we know that everything to this point was successful.
Well, and you put the motor together and it runs.
Yeah.
The cam sounded pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't hear any knocking. I was listening for ticks and knocks.
It's hard to tell whether the cam's choppy or it's just running.
Yeah.
Like running poorly, the computer's controlling it bad.
Not getting the right signals and running like shit.
I wouldn't think a brand new harness off the shelf, even though it's like a cheap harness. I guess like $150 harness. Like that's like bottom of the barrel kind of harness stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one cheaper, and that was the one I bought for the C10. Well, I'd had it because it was like on sale for $65.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, hell, for that, I could just steal the connectors, you know?
Yeah.
It's got $65 worth of connectors and crap in it, you know? And I started plugging it in on the C10 because it was what I had handy. And all the clips just kept breaking, and I'm like, well, that was a waste of $65 because now the connectors...
Just breaks the connector off of it. Definitely not going to use any of it without turning it completely apart and checking the connections.
Yeah.
You gotta do this connector. This is how it was connected. These wires were all just twisted together and taped in a China harness. And those are injector power wires.
Yeah, I assume that's probably about the way it is through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I know without the map, it was running real lean.
Yeah.
Like naturally, it was wanting to run lean.
Yeah. And that, without the map, it could be throwing all kinds of weird shit. That's why it doesn't run.
Because that's what your Clifford did too.
Yeah, Clifford wasn't running right at all. And it was no power to the map.
Yeah. I got looking at the harness after I've seen the scanner on it and changed the map and it didn't do anything. And so I'm like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can take this one and tear it apart.
This is good for connectors or whatever.
Maybe rub some wire to get the extra length I need for my wires that they need.
It's got many colors and they seem to be appropriate colors.
Yeah, it's color coded right, from what I could tell. Like the number 8 injector, that's blue.
Yeah.
I had to chase that out of a harness the other day.
So yeah, it's a thing. But at least it runs.
It's
Fired right up at least.
success to this point. I'm happy.
All right, guys, we're back today. Ray's got his pinned out harness on here. We're gonna try it out, see how it works. Can't work much worse than the other harness. So we got one harness, one Chinese harness that didn't work. We got one Chinese harness that kind of worked. So Ray's got his pinned out harness, doing some grounds and a few things on it. We're gonna test it out, see if it works.
Just gotta hook up the grounds to the computer and double check everything and make sure nothing's gonna get burned up, and I think we're ready to try to start it.
Like I said, I think buying a harness is easier, but after having two harnesses that are not good, I don't know if the first one's not good. This is probably, the one behind me is probably the one that would be my first harness that's officially not good out of the box.
The other one was molested.
Yeah, it had a rough start in life. Kaya's playing with the ball. All right, guys, I think we got everything hooked up. I think we're about ready to try it, so let's see what happens here.
I think that's everything.
Well, power's up. There's ignition. Got fuel. 760 pounds.
What we're not getting.
I would almost venture to say probably not spark, but I don't know. Could be wrong. All right, fam, we tried to start it. Didn't start. So now we're running a scan, see what we can find, see if we can figure out if that'll tell us something. So we got 3 codes in the powertrain, and it's still scanning. So we'll come back with what we find. All right, fam, I figured I'd do a little wrap up on this video for the run stand and the motor that Ray built. As you can see, it ran. We've learned a few things. We've done some troubleshooting. I got the other harness back on it right now. The one that we couldn't make work earlier. I'll show you what the differences was. So we got it all set up on here. I don't think we're gonna leave this mount like it is. The early S10 mounts straight. So we'll end up putting it on in the future. Harness runs up, everything's plugged in. We got the EV1 to Multec adapters on the injectors here. Everything's plugged in, but what we ran into is the crank position sensor, the cam position sensor, and the map sensor here. All 3 can interchange with each other. And when we first put it on, we had the crank and one of the other ones swapped, and that still didn't solve it. We had no spark. And so we took this harness off, we put the other harness on it, and we made this tore up C10 harness work. I mean, it fired it up, but there was stuff pinned wrong in it and a handful of other problems with that harness as well, just because it had been modified. We got Ray's harness on it that he's going to be using eventually in whatever he puts this motor into, and that's why it's not finished. It's going to be integrated, you know, better into the harness of the vehicle that's going into it. We just wanted to make sure it would function. It did function. There was a couple wires swapped on the cam position sensor, and we think we have a funny wire on the crank position sensor that's kind of hit and miss on that harness, but Ray's gonna solve that one. After we got the motor running good on here with the Ray's harness, we decided to put the new harness back on that we couldn't make work before. We realized all 3 sensors have the same plug, and so we sorted it out to make sure which sensor went to what, the map, the cam, and the crank position sensor. We got that all sorted out. The motor runs great. Harness is good. So yeah, we solved our own problem there that we'd probably caused. So right now, yeah, the motor runs great. Everything runs like it should. I think there's a little bit of problem in program for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm gonna have to look at the program just a little bit more to sort that out. But that's not a problem with the engine or the harness, so we're good on that one. And so right now we're pretty much done with this one. We'll fire it up real quick. Okay, so we got a master switch that powers up everything, powers up the computer. That's kind of like constant 12 volts is what it ends up being, and it's just a master shutdown. We have ignition, we have fuel pump that comes up to 60 pounds, and then we crank it. So as you can see, runs good, everything works right, does exactly like it should. So I think we're done with this engine on the run stand. We'll come back with other engines when we put them on here. Maybe I'll come back with a little bit of programming stuff when I play with the program, but we got to build a upper radiator support, hose support right here. We got a block under it, and then we want to build a laptop mount for that corner as well. So we'll get them things built. Just a little fine tuning stuff on here, but everything works like it should. So until the next video, thanks for watching.